Hi, this is Mark. In the last episode of Trade Deficit, I only discussed one of the reasons that politicians threaten tariffs and a trade war with China. That is caused by China's huge trade deficit against the United States. And I quoted a research article from Dr. Shin, an economics professor from Japan's National Graduate Institute for Policy Studies. In his research, he used the apple as an example to demonstrate that the United States trade deficit was caused by an obsolete customs statistics method and a new form of global trade. The second reason that the politicians claim is China violated American intellectual properties. This argument is true, and let me explain to you why. Since China joined the World Trade Organization, WTO, in 2001, China was doing an unbalanced globalization, which means China took the advantages of other WTO members' low tariffs, such as the United States, as low as 2%, export the hell out of it. In the meantime, China imposed relatively high tariffs for imported goods. Moreover, Chinese government established many rules and regulations to limit what a global company can do or cannot do in China. Those rules and regulations, we call them non-tariff barriers. All those practices are violation of WTO concept and principles. Let me give you a few examples. China do not allow foreign companies, such as, say, Volkswagen, to directly export products to China. Instead, they needed to establish joint ventures with local firms. By doing so, global companies are easily to lose control over their intellectual properties. This is one of the key reasons China established a full-scale, sophisticated auto industry in just a decade or so. Other barriers, including Chinese government, do not allow foreign companies to operate in certain key service sectors, such as banking and insurance. The results are a few giant state-owned Chinese companies grow up in China. As glorious as they are on the global Fortune 500 list, they have become the cancer to block the economic reform in China. However, non-tariff barriers is not only played by China. Every country does it, including the United States. Thinking about a Chinese telecommunication giant called Huawei, one of the best global companies from China, blocked from the United States market. Politicians here always cite national security concerns. The purpose of this program is to present you a different dimension to view a popular point of view and present you some counterintuitive arguments. Here comes my arguments. I argue everything has two sides. Chinese stolen American company intellectual properties and hurt China and Chinese companies. On the contrary, the stolen IP benefit the United States and the US company in long run. Chinese government is the one to take the blame not to protect the IP enough. In other words, they have been turned a blind eye on those issues for so long, which cultivated a culture in the society to disrespect others' IP, copyrights, and creativity, cut corners in order to get in the front. There is an old Chinese saying, "The sky is high and the emperor is far." It is a perfect depiction of such mentality to take any advantage that you can right now and don't worry about the punishment. After decades of such practice, it has become the norm in the society. Now Chinese government realized the importance of protecting the IP if they wanted to enhance innovation and release the creativity in the society, hence to nurture the service sector. They found it is very difficult to change the mindset. Why do I create anything without protection? Or why do I create if I can copy others without punishment? The good news is Chinese government realized they can't afford to continue such practice any longer, because Chinese government put a lot of effort to encourage grassroots innovation and entrepreneurship. Without legal protection, they know all those efforts are just slogans. A century ago, big cities such like in New York and London all troubled by horse waste in the city. Because the main transportation were horses. You can imagine the chaos and the bad smell, odor all over the city. How did the city solve those problems? Nothing. Decades later, all horses were replaced by automobile. Horse waste as a problem simply disappeared. The reason I mention this story is to show you a lot of times solving a problem we needed to jump out the setup. Many problems are historical phenomena, will disappear by itself as the society evolves. As for the IP issue and China, with or without the pressure from the United States government, it will fade away slowly as Chinese society and the people become richer and have more private properties to protect for themselves. It is an irreversible trend. Of course, a kick in the butt by the Americans might be helpful. Just a few days ago, Chinese government announced to remove the restrictions of foreign companies making full electric and plug-in hybrid vehicles this year, 2018, and would open the commercial vehicle market in 2020, followed by the old car market in 2022. In 1986, the new NBA Commissioner David Stern came to Beijing, China, and he waited 2 hours in the lobby of China Central Television Headquarters, the only network TV station in China then. He finally met a low-ranking official, and he promised to give Chinese free TV, live broadcasting rights for NBA games, 1 game per week. I'm the generation waited religiously every Sunday morning to watch that game, and grew up with the legends of Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Clyde Drexler, and legendary coaches like Pat Riley. Let's fast forward 30 years. In 2016, for the first time, NBA overseas revenue exceeded the domestic market, and China contributed the biggest portion. NBA gave its rights to China for free in a purpose to nurture the market in order to plant the NBA culture in a couple of generations. Don't forget, NBA wasn't rich back then. I heard a rumor that when David Stern took the position of commissioner in 1984, the league had only $2,000 left on its bank account. Now, we look back. We can't admire David Stern's vision enough. For years, Chinese bought and used improvised computers, which means somebody or company put parts together and sell them in a very low price. They all use the Windows system. Of course, no legal software were purchased from Microsoft. Illegal copies were widely available, which made Windows have over 90% market share right now in China, versus only 73% in the United States. Eventually, as the Chinese getting richer, more and more people will upgrade the computer to brand names such as Lenovo, HP. And along with the legal copy of Microsoft products. Windows become the only operating system that the Chinese can use because all other softwares were developed only on the Windows system. Now, Microsoft can grow more trees and harvest more fruits in this vast ecosystem it created intentionally or perhaps unintentionally. Hollywood movies and the TVs have enormous popularity in China. For years, Chinese watched illegal copies on VCR and the DVDs. Let's use Shawshank Redemption as an example. Chinese government did not import the movie. However, it was one of the most popular Hollywood movies in China in the 1990s. Over the course, let's just estimate 20 million Chinese people watched the movie and be conservative. And say the average ticket price in the 1990s was $5 in the United States. Can we simply claim Columbia Pictures had lost $100 million? No. 20 years ago, the middle-class Chinese salary was between $250 to $350 per month. Don't you expect that anyone pay about 5% of the monthly income to see a movie? Furthermore, there wasn't enough movie theaters could play Hollywood movies back then in China. Simply put, Chinese could not afford the movies. Transformers was one of the most popular cartoons in the 1980s in China. Since it was played on TV stations, I assume they purchased the copyright from the United States. However, the cheap Transformer toys we played as kids, most of them did not have license or ever paid royalties to the IP owners back in the United States. Well, the side effect is all the stolen IP nurtured a huge market. Who knows, almost 30 years later, a quote from Los Angeles Times, Transformer The Last Night dominated China's box office last week, grossing 126 million in its first 3 days, and marking the fourth biggest opening in Chinese box office history. The Transformer series is enormously popular in China, where the eponymous toys have long been an early childhood staple. The film prequel Transformer Age of Extinction became the #1 film in Chinese history in 2014, January 2017, Los Angeles Times. The other movies joined such effect was 2014 Robot Cop. Its international box office tripled domestic revenue. To me, that movie was made for Chinese. By the way, the 1987 Robot Cop created a sensation in China. Here, I'm not trying to be devil's advocate for stealing and privacy. No, they are absolutely wrong. Instead, I try to show you the other side of the story, the unintended consequence. Good things can have bad consequences, and the bad thing could have good consequences. Good and bad are cyclical process, just like a yin and a yang. Oh, sorry, I'm not trying to be philosophical here. We all have something to learn from David Stern. That's my point. Thinking about it, what would happen if Marvel and the DC Comics gave all the IPs to Chinese for free 30 years ago? Would Iron Man and Batman double, even triple the box office in China right now? Very possible. In the end, all the illegally watched the TV shows and the movies, counterfeit Nike sneakers, Batman t-shirts, or the media or amplifier for American dream, culture, and ideology to every corner of the world. It was this American dream embedded deeply in my childhood brought me to this promised land. I know IP and piracy is a sensitive topic. I'd like to read your comments and opinion. Thank you.